caliber traits as well.
The only problem for Bo Nix potentially is that Zach Wilson is also there, and he might go up to him and be like, "Hey, buddy, Chris liked me too, so don't let it get to your head."
You're funny. Oh, yeah, that's right. We're back. It's Chris Sims Unbuttoned. That was a little Zach Wilson, Bo Nix talk, a.k.a. Zach Wilson, the Milfinator. Just like to add that into the opening of the show today. Hello. How are you? It's still just an ongoing joke. Ahmed Fareed is here in his beautiful peach shirt today. Good to see you, my buddy. How are you?
Good to see you, too.
It is a Monday, or actually it's a Tuesday, the Tuesday after Memorial Day. Hope you had a good weekend. I know I did. It was great. We had some pretty good weather up here in the Northeast.
Great weather.
I feel a little recharged, ready to go, and it's quarterback countdown continuation Tuesday podcast here. So, we got it all going on, and I spent, a little bit of the last day and a half, diving back into that and going through, I think, the hardest area I've had to go through yet.
That's what I was going to say.
When it comes to the quarterback rankings.
I was like, you said you feel recharged, and then you go into the barn to rank some dudes again. So now how do you feel? Just back to where you were before.
It's ranking, but, again, as we've talked about, I like to watch. I like to get another look again, kind of get your thoughts a little more concise and how you feel about it. But this area, as I talked about last week and really even into the next pod on Thursday when we do it then, very tough area, very nitpicky, a lot of things that go into evaluating these quarterbacks, a lot of outside extenuating circumstances altogether. But we'll break all that down, and good to see you, man.
Yeah, good to see you too, Chris. Yeah, we have 3 tiers here. Right. One tier we'll leave to the end. 2 other tiers. It's my favorite tier. This is my favorite day of the whole countdown. It's crap or get off the pot. You say it better than I do. But we have the quarterbacks who need to get on the pot, go to the toilet, go to the bathroom, and you either need to crap, which is a good thing, or you got to get off the pot, let someone else see if they can crap on that toilet. It's my favorite of all the tiers.
That's great. You're so dirty over here. You're so dirty. But yeah, I mean, again, that's where we are. And of course, we know there's a group of guys in the NFL almost every year that, are in this little spot of like, wait, this is a big year. And if they don't capitalize on this year, life will change. Or, their job outlook's going to change. They're no longer going to be in Starterville. They might be a backup. Or all of a sudden looked at as bridge quarterback, just going to hold it down a little bit until somebody else takes over. We know that every year. And, of course, we're going to hit some of those guys today as well.
And we also have a tier of glory days. Have they passed you by?
Yeah,
so question mark on some of these guys. And those are some of the most interesting conversations because we have seen elite play from those quarterbacks in the past. Will we see it again? And sometimes you do, right? Sometimes you think like, oh, there's no way we see the best of the best from these guys. Well, maybe we will.
Well, it is situation, right? Yeah. Situation, system fit, some of that. That's what that's what makes this hard, and what I got to kind of decipher through sometimes is try to take all those things into account, right? And also not make it just a 1 year. Oh, last year was not good, so now he falls way down, and then I'm just going to forget that he had 7 great years before that, right? Or the other way around. Wait, he sucked for 7 years, and all of a sudden he had 1 great year, and we're going to go, hey, he's top 5 quarterback in football, right? I have a hard time just throwing rankings around just based off of hot take, recent biasy last year. There's a little more into it. There's a little more nuance. There's a little more big picture, I think, that you got to kind of digest when you make up these kind of lists here, right here.
So before we move forward, we have to see where we have been and take a look back at what we did last podcast and what we have done this entire podcast so far. The top 40 quarterback countdown has made its way up to 25. Will Levis was 26, was part of the ready rookies category, even though he's not a rookie, but he basically still is in that realm. Ryan Tannehill still for hire. If anyone wants Ryan Tannehill out there, when will that happen?
I don't know, and I'm
injury. I was going to take an injury. You think
it might? It might just take a team to go. Wait, we're not good enough at backup quarterback. That might be it, or. Yeah. Or there, I don't know if there's a situation out there right now that I look at that really jumps out to me to where you go, oh, that makes sense right there.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, again, I think I look at most teams and I look at maybe I'm wrong about this, the backup in Detroit right now. I know it's Hendon Hooker. They have him there, right? But if I'm Detroit, that'd be the kind of team I would want. I would want Ryan Tannehill if I'm Detroit, and if I'm Ryan Tannehill, I would want Detroit too. Did I say that right?
Yeah,
Both ways. I think there's love there. You got to protect your Super Bowl investment. I know your Lions football team.
Yeah.
I don't know if I'd want to put that, with some of the quarterbacks you got in that room there right now, and Hendon Hooker being young. No matter how the future might look, I don't know if I trust him quite there yet.
And Ryan Tannehill, just take the league minimum and just go win a Super Bowl. That's what my advice to you would be in Detroit. All right, so that is what we have done so far. Now it is time to get into the remaining 5. Well, the next 5 on your list. Next 6 on your list.
Next 6.
Here. Okay.
Can't even count.
Here we go. Tier of my favorite. It's my favorite tier.
Yeah.
It's you want to say
you
it?
really not. If you can't
You
really,
say it?
if it can't be your favorite tier, if you
what am
can't
I supposed
say
to
it.
do? What am I supposed to do?
Well,
I
you're
love
supposed to join the
I
podcast,
can't
and you're supposed to say it.
I can't.
What
do
am
it.
I supposed to do? What
I
am I
only-
supposed to do?
I only do
you're
that by
supposed
accident.
to say the word, okay? It's store high in transit, right? I actually was explaining this to my son the other day.
Yeah?
Yeah, because, I don't know how it even came up. We were in the car and shit came up. And I was like, you know why they call it that, right? I know a little about a lot. That's my claim to fame. And I always, I tell that story like I'm, some great, historian there.
You know what?
What?
I love this tier so much.
Yeah?
Screw it. Shit or get off the pot. Let's do it. Let's do it. It's my
baby.
favorite of all
Who
the tiers.
is this guy?
It is my favorite of all the
And
tiers.
what did you do with Ahmed Fareed, you potty mouth
I'm getting warm. I'm getting a little embarrassed, but it was worth it.
It was
worth
worth it. Damn.
I'm going to do it.
Well, you got to do it the whole tier now.
Well,
All
we'll
right.
see about that.
The whole time.
So these are all quarterbacks who you think this is a crucial year for them. They either need to produce or let someone else try to produce it.
Yeah,
for them.
I do. Of course I do. I think this is it. And I mean, here we are at number 25, and a guy that I really root for, and I do have almost bias towards, I feel like, because I root for him.
Let's do it.
And it's number 25 in Justin Fields. Yeah, this is a big year for Justin Fields. Now, he might not get a chance to prove it, right? I don't know. Either way, it's a big year. Even if he doesn't get a chance to prove it on the football field, he's got to prove it to the Pittsburgh Steelers that, hey, we see enough in practice and things like that, that there's some long-term, future or in our relationship here together. Or he does get that chance to play and Russell Wilson doesn't play well or gets hurt or whatever. Can he take advantage of it? That's going to be the big thing. I think the big thing with Justin Fields, is we've seen growth. We know that. He's the greatest athlete at quarterback in the game right now. I think that's the number one headline. There is nobody that can move and run like Justin Fields, all right? I love his grit, his toughness, right? His lay it on the line-ness to win a football game. It kind of like permeates off the film when you watch it. I will never I will never question Justin Fields, will to win a game or, his want to put his shoulder down or do the extra, the extra thing to help his team win the football game. Never going to doubt that. And I do think there's some tangible stuff to the way he plays that the team gravitates towards that a little bit, right? I think they feel his intensity on the football field and how hard and intense he plays, especially at the quarterback position that can be very rare. He is showing growth as a pocket passer in the NFL, right? But it's still not where you would like it, bottom line. And bottom line is, when you go back and watch, and as much as I see that growth and there's things I like and I'm rooting for him, right, he's still being managed, right? And he's still within the pocket, plays it at what I would say kind of an average level for what we expect at a big-time NFL starting quarterbacks, all right? So there's more work there that needs to be done, right? He's an average thrower when it all comes down to it as far as NFL starting quarterbacks are concerned, right? There's that aspect, let alone, playing in the pocket, seeing the field, going through reads and all of that. But the biggest thing, too, and why I couldn't make him higher, even though I like it, is, he is still being managed. They were calling the game there last year in Chicago of like, well, this situation, let's be a little simple here. Let's do this here. Let's throw a screen there.
You don't think that was from a lack of creativity from the offensive minds on that team?
No, I think it's more of a lack of trust, a little bit. Now, I'm not saying they're the most creative offense in the world, right? But I don't come away with that offense being as down on it as most people do. And I wasn't like that last year either, right? I mean, early on in the year, I was people were going crazy about Justin Fields, and I was going, wait, there's people open everywhere. And like, and we were showing highlights, and everybody was talking about it, right? And people were talking about, are the Bears doing Justin Fields dirty? Remember that whole conversation earlier last year? It was like, what? Are you kidding me? I mean, I don't agree with that. No, I still think there is an element of his game that he is not in the trust tree with his offensive coordinators as far as the ability to just execute play after play in the pass game and be surgical, like I always talk about, right? When you really look at him, there's a lot of wow plays, right? But there's not a lot of like wow drives, right? Let me just, if that makes sense, right? There's not a lot of consistency there, right? So there's a wow throw, and there's a wow scramble. Okay, then they punted. Oh, hey, there's a play. Oh, there's a play. But the consistent, like surgical 12-yard, wait, we can trust Justin Fields to just go down the field here in the shotgun and pick them apart. No, he's not there yet. And ultimately, that was some of the big reasons why I have him at 25.
For every great wild play, wild run, there's a play that maybe puts him behind the sticks and puts him in a tough spot to continue that drive. I mean, that makes a whole lot of sense. So Pete puts the narrative for him, and I think he's spot on with a lot of these narratives. He goes, exciting when he runs, but can't read defenses well enough to be a quarterback. That would be the narrative out there. I think most people have maybe on Justin Fields right now.
Right.
It might be less about reading it and just about seeing the whole field. Here's the good for Justin
Fields. And he's a great runner like we always talk about.
Runner.
And when you're a great runner, you don't always wait to see the field totally, right?
Sure.
So there's that part of it that I think is an adjustment. But go ahead.
So here's the good with Justin Fields.
Yeah.
I was looking at his numbers.
Right.
It's not all about numbers. I know that. I get that. But here are the numbers. Completion percentage has gone up every year.
Yeah.
It was 61% last season. Career high in passes last year. Career low in interceptions last year.
Right.
He had a career low in sack percentage, so did not take as many sacks last year.
Better at all that stuff.
And, of course, the running, right? He had over 1,100 yards in 2022. He led the league with 7.1 yards per attempt, was down a little bit last year, but he's shown that ability to do all that. And it's for all those reasons that I do hope, and I've said this to you before, that I hope Arthur Smith utilizes him, whether he's starting or not. And he said, quote, I definitely am competing. I don't have the mindset of sitting all year. Tomlin says we're not resistant to competition, but he did say I think it's appropriate to establish positioning as we get into the spring, so that makes me believe that Russell Wilson will have the edge and probably be the starter here. But I just hope they get him on the field. I think
he's a weapon enough to where he'll get on to some capacity.
Yes.
Right. I don't know what that is, but I don't doubt that. Whether they have like a quarterback design run package, something along that nature. Now, Justin Fields, like I feel about Russell Wilson in Pittsburgh, I really think they fit more of the Arthur Smith approach and how that offense will be played as compared to the places they were just at. I want to say that and make that clear. I really do. And that would be one of the things. Now with him, right? You talked about it. I see the growth.
Yeah.
You see the athletic ability, right? We talk about all the time, hey, when you're a great athlete, hey, playing in the pocket, you didn't have to his whole life. So, he is trying to get better in that department. The throwing has become more consistent, right? But still, like I said, it's a collection of plays instead of like surgical offense. And what I would say too is there's a lot of wow plays, but not a lot of wow throws, right? Very few where I just go, oh, wow, that's a special throw.
As far as arm strength or just anticipation or all of it together?
Kind of all of it together. Yeah. Exactly right. His anticipation is below average for an NFL starting quarterback. He kind of has to see the guy come open and then he throws it, right? His arm strength, I'm going to say, is for NFL starting quarterbacks, I'm holding him to that right there. It's right kind of down the middle as well. I think it's right around there. Now, off of that, right, he does not have any arm angles, right? There's no really sidearm throws. That's not a big part of his game that way, right? And I've never been in love with his mechanics throwing the football. Now, he at least is capable of replicating the same motion time after time after time, right? But at the same time, between watching the rush, maybe not anticipating guys coming open a little bit that I wish he would be better at, right? Just like, hey, the slot receiver's running that like 12 yards, he's going to run to the flag. And it's like, hey, wait, you can kind of see the guy's inside of him. He's about to break. Like, put it in the spot. Like, why do we have to see him come out of the break and then throw the same football all the time, right? Let me just see you touch one up there and let him go run under it and do all that. Those are the things you don't see enough of from him, right? And I do think the lack of confidence in his arm at times, because there are still games where you go through it and he loses control of the football a little too much, right? And when you look at that, I do think some of that stuff affects his decision making. You heard me say this about other guys in the past. When they don't feel like, hey, wait, I could throw a strike every time, I'm going, yeah, but this guy's open, and you got to throw it somewhere here in the number vicinity. And there's times in games where you could see he lost a few balls before that, and he goes, well, I'm not going to throw that. Yeah. I'm just going to look at the guy. If he's wide open, I'll throw it. If he's not, I'm going to check it down and go from there. And there's too much of that as well. There's too much look at one guy, then go right to the check down, where I'd go, wait, pocket's good. Go to the second guy, go to the third guy, then go to the check down or run, whatever. And those are things that he is still kind of figuring out or smoothing over in his game.
This is rare for him because Justin Fields was in the crapper get off the pot category last year.
I know.
And is on it again.
I
That's
know.
Very rare that you can be in this category 2 years in a row. Yeah. It's almost physically impossible, but here he is.
And I think we saw growth last year. We did. We saw early season struggles. Remember, he made the comments about, that I got too many people talking to me. Remember, he said that early on in the season. Then also, hey, even though he was better, I think some of the numbers you allude to with completion percentage and all that was because the offense was, they called plays to go, wait, here's a screen. Oh, here's a boot. Here's another screen, right? He goes through periods of the game sometimes where you go, he's only had to throw like one ball here the last 5 throws. The last 4 throws have all kind of been like, hey, we're going to manage you. We're going to get the completion. We're going to get you confidence. We're going to get the offense rolling, right?
Yeah, he had a game like that with DJ Moore where it was like no pass beyond 2
the
yards,
line of scrimmage or something like that. That's where,
a couple touchdowns.
Like you said, stats don't always matter. Context matters a little bit there too. And here's the last piece of the puzzle that just, as I watched, went through my head the whole time. When I went to the Combine, all the Bears people kept saying on their interviews, Ryan Poles and Eberflus, is, we want a quarterback that can play in the pocket more. We want a quarterback that can play 2-minute football a little bit more. And that is something that they have not been good at there in Chicago. And he wasn't in the trust tree there. And that again goes into the surgical offense, consistency, great decision, one after another, great throw, all of that. Right now, I categorize him as a guy that kind of needs to be in a certain offense, and the game needs to be played a certain way, right, for him to be at his best. And I think what he's in Pittsburgh will be suiting to him. But we'll see, and hopefully he gets that opportunity.
Yeah, he turned 25 in March. He's just 3 months older than Will Levis, so still very, very young. We have some video of him at OTAs. He's throwing some deep balls here, and so we can see how he is looking, and maybe he has gotten even better in that in the offseason. There's a deep ball throw to one of his wide receivers. And
listen, his motion, I don't love it. It's
You've
not
never
always
loved.
flowing.
You've never loved it.
Nope. It's a little too elbowy, as you've always heard me say. But he has found a way to control the ball and be pretty consistent with it. He has. Now here's the thing I would ask, right? Because like I told you, this was a tough tier. I struggled. I root for this guy. I do see talent. I do, right? But the other thing you come to too when you start to realize it is, did you ever feel like when they were down or everything, ever or any of the games that they were just going to go ahead, Justin Fields, take over. We're going to throw it 45 times and you got to take over. No, it was even when they got down, they were always like, well, we still got to run the ball. We got to screen. Hopefully our defense will make a play. Hopefully Justin will make a play running too and get us going that way and do that, right? It was never like, oh, damn, this week, hey, it's Justin, you gotta go 38 for 45, and we're gonna have to throw it every play. We're gonna put the game on your shoulders and your hands, right?
Right.
And you never got the sense that they were doing that in Chicago.
So looking at the numbers last year, to check your work immediately here, he did throw 41 times. It was against the Cleveland Browns.
Yeah.
Completed 19 of those.
Exactly,
so that was not good.
Thank you. Yeah, that would be one of those games where I would tell you the ball was everywhere and that you'd go, damn, he missed decisions because he didn't trust where the ball went either.
So he threw the ball 35 times or more 4 times last year. The Bears lost 3 of those 4 games. So
what was the one they won?
They beat Chicago 12, or they beat Minnesota.
Wow, they beat themselves.
Yeah,
huh?
yeah. They did that in other games. They beat the Vikings 12-10.
They beat the Vikings 12-10.
And he went 27-37 for 217 yards.
Yeah, I know. Because
So
that game would be, if you sit back and watch that game with me, you'd go, man, the Bears should have won that game by 2 touchdowns. He missed a lot of plays and throws, had some bad turnovers as well. Now, he was tough and gritty and got them the win and did drive them down late to get the win. But, yes, if you went back and watched with me, that would be one of the games where you'd go, why is his throwing all over the place? Why did he miss this throw? How did he miss that throw? Whatever. And there's just some of that. And then, again, it's still work in progress there. I'm rooting for him. He was in a tough spot. There's no doubt about that. We'll see what he does in Pittsburgh. I think it's a perfect spot for him.
The one thing we'll never know is if Caleb Williams did not exist, would he still be a Chicago Bear? Maybe you get the feeling from talking to the Bears people they wanted to move on regardless. They just wanted a different type of quarterback. Yeah. And the Pittsburgh Steelers can move on as well. They did decline his $25 million fifth-year option, so he is entering the final year of his contract. Really, the Steelers can play it perfectly. It's like either Russ, they're not tied to either one of them long term.
No, they can totally evaluate this on the run.
It's a good spot for the Pittsburgh Steelers.
Yes.
25 is the spot for Justin Fields. We're up to 24 now, still in the crap or get off the pot tier. Number 24 for you is?
I can't even believe I'm about to say this. Deshaun Watson, number 24, Cleveland Browns. That's right. Yeah. 3-time Pro Bowler, right? I mean, early part of his career, I was thinking, man, this guy's him, right? He's the man, okay? But, yeah, no, it's fallen off. I mean, what's the first thing you want me to say? I mean, he's played what? I mean, 11 games, 12 games in 3 years?
So let me give the narrative that Pete gives, and I think this is true. 2020 was a long time ago.
Yeah.
And when you look at it, you go, okay, what do you mean 2020? We've seen him since then. Yeah, we have seen him since then, but not very much. He's only played 12 games with Cleveland, 6 in 2022.
And really 11. One of them was just a few plays.
That's true.
You know what I mean?
Last time he played a full season was 2020 when he led the league in passing yards.
Yes. We are long way from there, right? I don't know what Deshaun Watson is. I don't. When I dig into last year, it's disappointing. I think that's the big thing, right? Here's what I guess I would say is there's still great physical ability, right? Still has a strong arm, still moves well, maybe not like he used to, right? Because he was electric, a few years ago, moving and doing all that, right? But we talked about the 12 games, right? Still that, can make some special plays, but they're few and far between as compared to what we used to see in the old days, right? And then I think the big thing to me is he's yet to regain his groove overall as a player ever since he had his legal issues and all of that stuff that went down in Houston. He really isn't. I mean, a little bit like I just talked about with Justin Fields, he's being managed still. If you watch him in that offense and you watch Joe Flacco in the offense, you go, they were doing more offense with Joe Flacco and letting it fly. Definitely. With Watson, there was a little bit of hey, let's get him in a rhythm. Let's run a boot. Let's throw a screen. Let's run another boot. Let's run a really basic 3-step drop play that everybody learns, sophomore year in high school, right? To where I go, this isn't the same guy I used to watch in Houston where they used to go, put him in the shotgun. He'll carry the team, no problem, right? Now it's I hope he can make a few plays for us and, we can justify this huge contract and all of that. But, yeah, you watch the games and you go, no, they're calling the game to go, hey, let's get Deshaun in rhythm. Let's get him throwing the ball. Let's do that way, right? And then – I don't think he can carry the squad like he could in the old days. Will he ever again? I don't know, right? I told you, the offense was more complex with Flacco. And then I think the other thing that bothers me when I really started to break it down this weekend even more is just to go, the throwing is so inconsistent. The throwing, right? He can make a wow throw, but like we've talked about with other quarterbacks in the draft process or whatever, there are so many missed errant throws or throws where you go, wait, this guy's open and he has to go to the ground or go behind his back to catch the ball. He has plays, Ahmed, where he throws the football and I swear to you, he's bent over like a pitcher coming off the mound.
I mean, that would indicate to me, and he has had shoulder injuries. That's exactly what it was. Shoulder surgery, rotator cuff injuries. It's like you wonder if there's some permanent damage that has been done or enough damage to where he has changed his throwing motion and now he's less confident.
I think there could be that, and then you couple that with not playing, right? And, he's just kind of lost his comfort level. It's almost like he's lost his natural instincts as a player. That was what I wrote, right? A guy that I used to look at and go, man, he's so instinctive and it's next level and all of that. And it's like ever since all this stuff happened, he's kind of lost his mojo or his aura about him, right? And he's just, again, it's very few drives or games that you can go, man, this is consistent good quarterback play and one good decision and throw after another. Not what you would expect from somebody from $45 million a year in a fully guaranteed contract.
For sure. So
right.
I would be so curious to know, and I don't know if we've heard a lot about it, and maybe not anyone's talking about it. Just how the team reacts to him as opposed to a guy like Joe Flacco. Because, this is a ranking about physical traits and what they do on the football field, reading a defense.
But we talk about leadership.
Exactly,
right.
leadership.
Right.
I'm so fascinated, and you don't hear a whole lot of the players talk about it just because he hasn't been out there and they haven't had to talk about it. But, can he effectively lead that team?
I think he's got to put some good games together to start to go, hey, wait, I'm the old Deshaun Watson, right? What do guys follow in the locker room? They follow the ballers, the guys who are the man, right? And that means you have to be the man on the field, and then, you're the man with the check you're getting every week. But if you're just getting the big check and you're not the man on the field, people are like, that's cool. You get a lot of money. Let's go hang out and do something and party, and you can pay. Yeah. But that doesn't mean you're the man, and we all, respect you that way in the locker room, right?
Yeah. That's
where it's crazy, right? There's very few big-time throws, very few, okay? It's always looking for the one-on-one shot. It's never really playing within the system of the offense. It's always like, hey, wait, I have a combination over here. I'm going to take – I don't want to say that. I'm going to say it for the lack of a better way. I'm going to take the easy way out and just throw the one-on-one ball over here. And it's like, no. You have more options and things to work with over here. Now, you got to read it, and, it might be a little bit more difficult. But you can't just be like, I'm going to drop back and just throw it in the spot, and hopefully my guy gets it, right? That's just not going to get it done. It's just not, right? So that's where, I feel like, there's that aspect. The feel in the pocket is not what it used to be. He has, as I just talked about with Justin Fields, there is zero anticipation. Zero. He's actually worse than Justin Fields in that department.
And did that used to be something that Watson was able to do at a high level?
He could do it, yeah.
Yeah.
Now it's like he doesn't trust himself, or I don't know what it is, but he wants to see it before he throws it every time, right? And that has been lost. So, that's where, I really don't know what to make of Deshaun Watson. It's a big year. It really is. And he is nowhere close to the old Deshaun Watson that we saw in Houston. In fact, it was a disappointing year when I go back and watch it because I had more
even
hope.
Worse than you were ready for.
It was, right?
Wow.
And I feel like every time you go, oh, maybe this is something he can build on, he got hurt, or just it didn't work out. Yeah. And you just go, oh, he looks good today, but it didn't work out that way. So, he's one of the harder guys to rank in this. I know what he's capable of, but I do seriously wonder if he's capable of regaining that form ever again. And I do think not only, with him being older, but I do have a feel that all this off-the-field stuff has affected his psyche and his aura, as a football player, for lack of a better way to say it. And I think it shows with their football team. I don't think they're like, oh, we can go to the Super Bowl because we have Deshaun Watson. I think they're all like, we hope Deshaun Watson can be what he used to be. Then we can go to the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
Right? And I think that's a little bit of the boat they got to be in there right now.
And not to get all wishy-washy, but what happened with him off the field, he never resolved it, right? And some of that was legal reasons, right? And your lawyer's telling you one thing, don't do this, don't say this, don't admit guilt, and I get all that stuff, right? But when you're in a locker room with a bunch of different players and you got to lead those players, you've also got to be the guy that can handle a situation like that and
you
do it
don't feel
gracefully.
like he totally squashed that or owned up to it.
It's like it's still it's a big unresolved black mark on him, on that organization.
Yes.
And it's like he doesn't owe, me an apology. He owes the victims apologies, obviously. He doesn't owe anything to anyone else, but he does. Like the thing that boggles my mind.
It would go well in public opinion.
It would help
get
him.
People off
it would
his
help
back.
him.
Right. Agreed.
It would help him move on from some of this stuff, but he just doesn't seem to have a willingness to want to do that.
All you got to know, right, is they didn't feel comfortable bringing Joe Flacco back.
Yeah.
That tells you all you need to know, really, when you really unpack it, right? If you're the f***ing man, like the man, do you think Patrick Mahomes would be like, and the Kansas City Chiefs would be like, I don't know if we should bring Joe Flacco back? He'd be like, what? Bring him back. I don't give a shit. I'm going to show him every day who the man is here.
Yeah.
Right? They didn't want to do that because Joe does have that kind of arm where it's like, and then he had the fans and the little run last year and behind him and all that. They didn't want to deal with that. If he was really the man and the man in that locker room, they would have brought Joe Flacco back. But they didn't because of all the reasons we're talking about. And this is a shit or get off the year pot. Yeah. Shit or get off the year.
Yeah, either way.
For the Cleveland Browns and Deshaun Watson.
He was number 9 last year. He is tied with Ryan Tannehill for the biggest drop of any quarterback to appear on both last year and this year's list. First time that ever you have had Deshaun outside the top 15. There is some recent video of him throwing and not throwing at the Browns OTA, so let's see what you see here.
The first thing I noticed when I did see this the other day is, one, he looks a little thinner, which I like because I do think he's been a little thick the last few years, right? So that's something I definitely liked about it. And from these videos that I've seen so far, I don't know if I've seen this one right here. I do. Oh, okay. That's why I haven't seen it. It's a walkthrough. It's a walkthrough. Yeah. I have liked what I've seen throwing the football, right? You don't want to see quarterbacks crouching over at the waist, bending. Right? You have to stay tall. You rotate through the football, and it's more about going around. It's not a baseball pitcher where you should end up folded like a lawn chair after your release. Hopefully he can fix those issues, but big year for him nonetheless.
You saw Jameis Winston there. He is his primary backup, so we'll see if Jameis Winston gets in the game or plays like Joe Flacco did last year.
That's what I'd be scared of. I mean, that's where Deshaun needs to stay healthy too, because Jameis is the kind of guy that's going to let it fly, like Joe Flacco did. And we know they're good in Cleveland. They're good. They are a Super Bowl football team.
And Jameis is a guy that can get the troops rallying.
He can get them rallied. He'll make a few great plays and throws, and everybody just like, this guy's crazy, and he's kind of good, but he's crazy.
Jameis,
like him.
We're supposed to take a knee here. Don't worry about it.
Handing it off. Right, touchdown.
So there's 24, Deshaun Watson, a lot going on there, but he is right in the middle, basically, as low as he has ever been in your top 40 quarterback countdown. This next quarterback, what was he last year? He was 11th last year.
Another dropper.
What's your ceiling tier last year for this quarterback, and now he is in the crapper, get off the pot. Number 23 for you is?
Daniel Jones, New York Giants. Maybe the hardest guy to peg in this whole list for my money. I told you that before we started the pod, right? And it really is
because of your bias.
Well,
Giants bias.
I am Giants bias.
What
maybe
you
Daniel
want
Jones
him
bias.
to be.
Certainly, I do turn on the film though, right? And I go, damn, there's a lot I like about Daniel Jones. I do. And then it's hard too because, like I told you, there's games where you just go, I don't care who we got a quarterback. Like, this is a joke. He can't get protected. They can't run the ball. They can't do anything. So, it's not always easy. He has not been in a situation that's conducive to big-time quarterback play. I would say that right off the bat.
But I would say he's got Brian Daboll there, a head coach who did very well with Josh Allen. Right. Seems like that would be conducive. Is it just everything around Brian Daboll, or has even he contributed to some of the problems?
Well, I think a little bit of both there. Year one, we saw what it did, right? And they went to the playoffs and, probably overpaid him, and they beat the Vikings, who probably were definitely overrated that year and all of that. Yeah, but he at least gave him a system and a plan to build on that first year without great weapons. And, of course, the stats weren't through the roof or anything like that. They played the complete football game. They managed the game to the utmost ability of what their football team was, and they pulled out some clutch wins, right? Yeah. Last year, schedule was tougher, certainly, especially the start of the year, right? And some of those teams they were playing, like, you weren't going to be able to just manage the game and beat the 49ers. Like, it didn't matter how well you manage it. And and what was the game? It was 17-12, like early in the fourth quarter. They were hanging around, right? Without a marquee wide receiver or run game or anybody to protect him. So that's where I defend Daniel Jones, right? And like watching him next to Watson, as I did yesterday, there is no doubt who I would take there, right? I mean, I would take Daniel Jones. He's a better thrower. He's a better decision maker. He's quicker decisions. He's more consistent of a thrower. And then I think when you get into the absolute player of Daniel Jones, here's the big thing. He's big, he's tough, and he's an exceptional athlete. Right? And he's a better thrower and passer than he gets credit for. It's not sexy. It's not dynamic. It's a little machine-like. It doesn't look that cool. There's not a lot of sidearm. I wish there was some of that, right? He can't just flick the ball sometimes and give you those type of throws that we love to see. But, as far as being a pocket's pretty clean, throwing the ball on the money, making the right read, yes. Throwing the ball and making a big throw when you're about to get drilled in the chest. Damn, Daniel Jones might lead the football in the last 5 years with throwing strikes while getting drilled in the chest, right? So those are the things I like him, But, the dynamic throwing, right? The sometimes locking on a receiver, dumb decision, and then I think maybe a little bit what my dad said last Monday, lack of effect on the team, right? Leadership, pizzazz, whatever. I think those things maybe are what hurt him in my mind. But damn, he like I texted you yesterday. He's the hardest guy for me to rank in this whole thing.
So the pizzazz thing, he's never going to have pizzazz. If you've seen a Daniel Jones interview, it's like that's not coming for that guy. So how does a player like him develop that mentality, his quarterback leadership?
His has to be just like, how would I want to say this? Almost like just absolute nerd pizzazz, where it's just like, I'm here working first. I'm here doing everything I got to do. My play is consistently good every day.
I know everything about my job,
your job, exactly right. Yeah. And I might not be pizzazz, but you're in the huddle with me, and you could trust me that I'm going to get everybody right. Yeah. Right?
You're describing Kirk Cousins a little bit here.
Well, that's that kind of guy. I think that's who he is, right? That's who he is.
Yeah.
And not everybody's a natural born take over the team leader, right?
Yeah.
We've seen other quarterbacks who've won Super Bowls, and hey, the defense might have been the leader. The head coach was kind of the vocal leader, right? That way. So it's not in everybody to be that guy, but he can still get the respect of being that guy by doing it that way. And that's where I get into the Giants could help him a little bit too. And hopefully they can play enough of a team game this year and now have enough, talent at receiver to where defenses got to respect a few things about their team. You watch Giant games sometimes, and it's like nobody thinks they're going to throw the ball deep. Nobody thinks they can run the ball, right? Everybody's just kind of at the line of scrimmage like, go ahead, Giants. What are you going to do? Oh, what is you going to do? Saquon going to break 9 tackles and then run for a big run? Daniel Jones is going to break 7 sacks and then make a big throw? Like, what are you going to be worried about? And I think that's, a part of the struggle of ranking him, really.
Yeah, there's a lot to talk about there because so here are your ranks on him.
Yeah.
Since 2020, you had him 22, you had him 26, 21, you had him 11.
Yeah.
And now he's back here at 23. It's looking like maybe 2022 was an anomaly.
The anomaly, right.
The narrative on him is he's an average at best quarterback who's paid like a top 10 quarterback because he won that one playoff game versus that Vikings defense. And even in that year, Pete notes here, Jones had fewer touchdown passes than games played in 2022.
Yeah, he had 16 touchdowns that year?
He had 15 touchdowns in 16 games played.
Right.
So we just, at a certain point, you're just like, this guy is who he is, and maybe that guy is a below average. You have him 23 again this year, a below average starting quarterback in the NFL.
It is tough. I guess the part of me is I don't. Here is what I think I would say. I don't know what he is totally because the Giants have not helped him show what he is. Right, as I told you, like going back to last year and watching the Cowboys game in person. Right, sitting in the stands. Everybody's on Daniel Jones. I'm sitting there as an ex-quarterback, and I can see the game like it's the Matrix. I know everything that's going on out there. And I'm going, Daniel Jones is the problem? He can't even drop back, and I haven't seen a receiver open by more than a half a centimeter. So we got to take that into account a little bit too. And I know that's not perfect, but I will say his escapability is top-notch. His fearlessness in the pocket is top-notch. Right? He's got no run game, no pass protection. He is one of the best running quarterbacks in football. I wish his release was faster. more diverse. Wish he had other arm angles. It's not like when you watch him, he's missing plays. I don't sit there and go, like I've said with other guys so far today, where I said with Fields and Watson, I could watch a game, almost every game, and go, you got to hit that. He's open. Why did you miss that throw? He was wide open.
If something's there for Daniel Jones,
he usually hits it.
Yeah. Or at least is looking in that way.
He's
at least
not
is trying to make that
exactly
play.
right, or it's not far off. It's not egregious, and that's, I guess, the best way, And then the last thing I wrote is they are allowed to help him, as you've heard me say a million times.
They're trying to do that.
Yep.
They're trying to keep him upright and healthy. Health is one thing that he has not been able to maintain. Just
and that's
year
another
since
part of this as well. No doubt about it.
He has not been able, but the offensive line has something to do with that.
Too.
They've tried to help out there with John Runyon, Aaron. Stinney.
Yep.
And Jermaine Illuminor.
Yeah. I think they got more depth and versatility here.
You lost Saquon, but you got Malik Neighbors.
Yeah, that's right. I'm excited about that. I think that's going to be big for them.
Here's all the injuries for Daniel Jones.
I think they're they're a running back by committee type of football team, all in all. And then I think when you put Neighbors, Hyatt, Wan'Dale Robinson, right, Darius Slayton, I go, that's a pretty good. It's an underrated group of receivers that I don't think people realize has a chance, I think, to be something a little bit here. But he is too fearless in the pocket and a little too wait, you broke the tackle now, okay, but there's nowhere else to go, and there's 7 guys coming at you, and their shoulder pads are down, and they're ready to crush you. Go down. Don't do that, right? Fumbling the football, right, at times. Maybe you're careless in a bad turnover in a big situation. That's not been necessarily where he's thrived totally there. We'll see. It's a shit or get off the pot year for Daniel Jones.
So they would get free up $19.3 million next year by cutting Jones in the offseason.
Yeah.
They would still be on the hook for a $23 million injury guarantee if he cannot pass a physical. So if they're out of it, as the year is going,
there's a good chance.
See them the same Russell Wilson type thing where it's just hey, we're not going to play you.
Right. Matt Ryan a few years ago with the Colts.
Ryan, yeah.
I don't think that. I don't think that would be shocking to me.
They got no other long-term plan. Drew Lock is there.
No, and Drew Lock, right. I mean, they got him, and if Daniel Jones doesn't play well or is shaky or whatever, and the Giants aren't, playing up to what they thought their capabilities were, I don't think it'll be a terribly long leash for Daniel Jones. They'll get Drew Lock in there.
And then they're going to come back next year if it all blows up, and people are going to be like, Chris, this is why we tried to convince you to take a quarterback for the Giants, to take a quarterback in the draft, right? That would be if he has a down year, you'll look back on the draft.
I'm going to hear that. You're
and
right.
Be like, you're right. We should have taken J.J. McCarthy.
Yeah.
But Drake May still will be bad, is what Pete says in my ear. So we'll move on now. That is it. We close the book on crap or get off the pot.
I mean, what? You said it? They're not going to end it? That was it? Just one time?
Yeah.
That was it.
We can replay that if we need to.
Can we put that out on social media today? That's all I want.
Yeah, my mom will be so disappointed in me. We're moving on to another tier here. This one has no swear words in it. This is the Glory Days Passed You By ? We got 2 quarterbacks in this tier, starting at number 22 with
Derek Carr, the New Orleans Saints, right? Derek Carr, and as I've told you here, we're going to get on 2 guys where I think, their history and maybe what they were 4 or 5 years ago plays into your mind a little bit here, but you got to take in, again, I don't ever want to just take in last year. But I think the last 2 to 3 years are probably the ones that jump out to you the most, or in this type of exercise, certainly, right? And what I would get in with Derek Carr is still a high level thrower of the football. He is great accuracy, great control of the football, always really quick, efficient release, can get it out of his hand quick, right? As quick as anyone, and he's got pretty good feel in the pocket as far as where to move and where to go. But within that, right, he's not very tough in the pocket. And he is going to be quick to, wait, I'm about to get hit, and there might be a 20-yard completion to be had, but I'd rather not get hit, and let me just check it down, and we'll get a 4-yard completion, right? Way too quick to do that. Way too quick to take the short completion altogether. There's no doubt. There's too much of, I drop back, I see zone, let me just get it to the back and do that. And I go, man, This guy's about to be open. You played too much football. You know this coverage. You know this play. You know this guy might come open right here. Why are you already throwing the ball underneath to Alvin Kamara, right? So that's where I think he can bother you or leave meat on the bone in that department. And a lot of it has to come to do with that. Right. And yeah, not only are plays left on the field and maybe big throws are left down the field when there's pressure around him or the pocket's collapsing where he doesn't throw the ball accurately, maybe because he just doesn't stand in there quite the way he should to let it rip or do that. But let alone, early in games can be way too conservative, like you heard me say before the pod a little bit, to where, yeah, they have games where they're down and the stats end up being pretty good, but you go, damn, well, if you played the way you did when you were down by 20 early on in the game, you would have never been down by 20. You guys would have been winning, and you still would have had good stats, and he would have won the football game. And I think that's what frustrates you about Derek Carr as the quarterback in New Orleans Saints.
The narrative with him is that he is so mid, which is what the kids say, which is like average, that even Saints fans don't like him because Week 13 versus my Detroit Lions, he started 0 for 3, had a bad interception. The Lions built that 21-0 lead in just 8 minutes, and the Saints opened their third drive when Taysom Hill came in, ran for 7 yards, and then Carr came back in. The fans booed him. The fans booed their own starting quarterback after that bad start, a game where the Saints almost came back and won that game against my Detroit Lions because he played much better after that initial
right.
first 8 minutes.
There's a lot of that, right? I talked about, way too quick to get the short completions, check it down, the lack of aggressiveness, all of that, right? There's too many plays where, right, there's like he predetermines before it and doesn't let the play out and just goes, oh, well, I know this play's not great against this coverage, so I'm just going to throw the check down. You don't know. As you know, playing quarterback growing up or whatever, don't give these guys on the other side of the ball too much credit.
Yeah.
Doesn't mean they all do their job perfectly, right? There's that aspect, right?
We didn't have many checkdowns in our wing T offense.
Lack of big-time plays off schedule. I don't think you see a ton of that. And I think he has more to offer there because I think he's a better athlete than what he puts on the football field sometimes. Yeah. He can play a little too much within the pocket that way and do that. He's got to let it go a little bit. Be a little bit more of a gunslinger, right? I think that's the big the big thing with him. And misses, like I said, too many easy throws under pressure. That's the big thing. Whether it's the pressure of the game or, hey, the pocket's collapsing and you got to hang in there and take a hit and throw this ball in the right spot, there's too many there, right? And, he has too much talent. They have too much talent.
Yeah.
And they leave a lot of plays and yards on the field in every game.
As opposed to Daniel Jones, who maybe thrives on that contact, puts himself in harm's way, Derek Carr does not do that.
I know.
And he has actually stayed healthy with that. So it's like it's a double-edged sword, right? It's just like we'd like to see a little bit more of that, maybe take some more chances, but he also has stayed healthy, played all 17 games last year. There will be a little bit different offense this year in New Orleans, which will be interesting to see. Clint Kubiak is coming in as the new OC. Pete Carmichael was there last year, had been with the team for 18 years.
Yep.
So he's gone. A senior offensive staff member is also gone. Wide receiver coach is gone. So they overhauled the coaching staff on the offensive side in New Orleans. And apparently, from what Derek Carr said in a recent interview, it's going to be more play action for him. He goes, play action is 10 out of 10 for me. I have always loved it. I've always been a fan, so they're going to incorporate that more this season. So we'll see if it's a different offense. And I do like the weapons that they have. We were talking a little bit about it before we started here with A.T. Perry will be kind of an intriguing red zone target. I've liked Chris Olave. I know you still have some questions on him.
Yeah, but he's still good and dangerous.
Rashid Shaheed.
I love Rashid Shaheed, right.
So, and they got Tali Fuanga to help try to shore up that offensive line. So I think he might be in a better position to succeed this year than he was even last year.
Maybe. I think so. I think their approach on offense needs to be different and should be different. I think last year they were a little into like, oh, we're gonna be surgical and dice you up with Derek Carr in every game, and I don't think that kind of player right now that's gonna just carry your team right week in and week out and win you games that way. No, I think this is going to be more appropriate for him and what they are. And Clint Kubiak, again, first off, he's Kubiak, okay? Yeah. He believes in the Shanahan way of football. I mean, his dad grew up playing for Mike Shanahan, let alone being an assistant coach for him. Gary Kubiak's offensive system was run the ball, play action. And then where the Kubiak come from last year? The master of play action and Kyle Shanahan on the 49ers. So, yeah, that's what they're going to do. And I think it's the right thing to do, too, with a quarterback that, has not shown the ability, like we said, to carry the team, throw lasers around the football field, extend plays, backyard football. Hey, no problem, guys. I got this. Do this. No, I think it's got to be a little bit like, hey, you got to make him feel comfortable. Got to give him some easy completions every game. Got to run the ball. He's not the kind of guy that wants to sit there and take a beating dropping back 42 times a game. And I think that's where, it'll fit him and their team better this year.
There's not a whole lot behind him on the depth chart there in New Orleans. They got Jake Haener, who was a 4th-round pick last year from Fresno State. They got Spencer Rattler, who was a 5th-round pick this past year.
That's where it's like he's very safe and not in a threatened spot.
Yeah.
That's what I would say, right? Where I last year there was more of a threat. Jameis came in, and Jameis would come in, and he's the opposite of Derek Carr, right? He's like, I don't even know what the check down is. What? An underneath throw?
Yeah, we don't do that.
That's what we talked about, when we did Jameis, is one of the reasons he is where he is, right? It's just because you don't trust him, and it's just like, oh, my gosh, is he just going to throw every ball 40 yards down the football field, right? But, Derek Carr could use a little bit of that in his mindset to a degree. But, yes, that like, it's a shit or get off the pot year for Derek Carr, but he might have a little bit more of a longer leash than some of these guys we've talked about because of the backups you're alluding to here.
Yeah, and in glory days, have they passed you by? I mean, Derek never really had the glory, the top, but I do think he was underrated there for a while, just because he was never that first round. He wasn't a first-round quarterback.
No, he was top of the second.
First pick of the second round. And so I don't think he ever got the credit he deserved when he was good, and maybe that's still kind of affecting our perception on him.
I think there's that. Right. I think you're right. Like, he was better than he gets credit for, but yet it's still also amazing that he's been a starting quarterback for as long as he has when you look at his resume and gone, he's played as many playoff games as Chris Sims has. Yeah. Right. That was one.
Yeah.
And, that's where, hey, Derek Carr and what we talked about with some of these other guys too, leadership, people believing in him, his effect on the football team. I can't sit here and say that that's like a huge attribute for Derek Carr at this point in his career. Right. And we'll see where this goes, but certainly a big year for him.
I never would have thought you would use yourself as a slam on Derek Carr here on the playoff games.
I think it's one of those where Derek Carr, I think, is very much the reputation of kind of how we're explaining right here. I think there's a lot of people in football that go, hey, he's pretty good. He's done a good job in his career. He's done some positive things. And then I think there's another part of football that's like, how is he still a quarterback, starting quarterback? Sure. I mean, how many years are we going to just miss in the playoffs or talk about, oh, he could have made this throw or he was a little too conservative. So, yeah, there's definitely a little bit of a love-hate relationship with Derek Carr in the NFL.
He is below 500, 15 games below 500 as a starting quarterback in the NFL. Some of that was because he was on some really bad rated teams, and the best team they had there, he was hurt in the playoffs. He got hurt late in the year.
That's right.
But that is Derek Carr. That sums him up well. We got another quarterback to go here. In the glory days, have they passed you by tier? Number 21 for you is
Russell Wilson, Pittsburgh Steelers. Right. Another one that it's weird to say it, do it, all of it, I look at it and go, damn, they won a Super Bowl, 9-time Pro Bowler, right? Been a baller, right? But not a baller right now. That's for sure. Now, I got to say that, hey, I don't think he was in a situation that necessarily suited him, right? Whether that was Nathaniel Hackett, and I think we all and everybody in the football world has questions about Nathaniel Hackett, right? And that certainly was not a great year there, and Russell Wilson certainly deserves, some of the blame to go along with that. I also don't think Sean Payton is Russell Wilson's cup of tea either. I don't. A lot of people in football thought that last year. Like, man, is Sean Payton going to really work with Russell Wilson, right? I was one that thought, if anybody can get Russell Wilson going and doing all this, it'll be Sean Payton, right? He got him going to a degree. He did. And there are some good things to talk about with Russell Wilson, right? But is it carrying the team superstar quarterback level type of play right now? Absolutely not, right? And I think the big thing with Russell is I would say he's a guy that still has top-notch ability, right? But he's lost his way in trusting himself and trusting what he sees on the football field and being a little too, I think, worried about his overall standing in the pantheon of quarterbacks and what it might look like if he plays this way in this game or whatever else. Lets too much of that stuff influence him, in my opinion. And, I want to say to him just like, hey, man, stop thinking so much. Just let it fly a little bit. But I would also say, and maybe where I have him a little more highly ranked to a degree in some ways than maybe like the film would show at times, is I don't think the Sean Payton offense is for him. I don't. I think Russell Wilson's like, hey, I want to, don't make it too complicated. I can really throw the football. Let me drop back. Give me 2 or 3 guys to look at, and I'll throw a strike down the football field. I'm not, 74 checks at the line of scrimmage. Check this, check that. Hey, 58 Lexus, Apple 49, do all that. Yeah. Set hut. I got to throw a ball in 0.5 seconds because Sean Payton runs the 3-step drop game all the time, too. That's not his cup of tea either.
Yeah, Russ is like, give me the play that's going to break down. I can get out of the pocket and just throw it 50. And Sean Payton's like, I don't want to give you a play that's going to break down. He's like, but that's when I'm good.
Well, he was at his best when Sean called simple, hey, let's protect him. Let's, 2 or 3 guys out, right? And he can see the play down the field develop, and then he can throw a strike. He's not the guy that is like, and he never has been. 1, 2, 3. Oh, right. Hey, read the coverage here. Put it in the small window and throw it perfectly accurate, right? He's not the greatest 3-step drop thrower anyways, and that's a big part of Sean Payton's offense, right? And, yeah, I don't think he grew up in the world, and this is where it's hard to rewire a quarterback. He grew up in the world of simple offense, Seattle, right? We'll protect you. If this guy's open, hit him. If he's not, move a little and hit somebody else. And that's where he thrived last year. And that's where I think he's going to thrive this year with Arthur Smith and the Steelers. They're going to run the ball. They're going to make him feel protected, right? They're going to have plays where they're going to go, wait, we don't want 9 different checks at the line of scrimmage. We have a play here through our week of study that we're calling this play, and we think it gives you answers for everything, and we've taught you throughout the week, and now just go play. And I think that'll fit him a lot better than what he's had to do the last 2 years in Denver.
The narrative on Russ.
Yeah.
He is not good anymore. Maybe he never was. But at the end of the year, Sean Payton did him dirty. Pete knows that it might not make sense, but don't worry about that.
Yeah,
That's just basically the narrative, which I think is kind of the narrative. It's funny on Russell. He went from being this, oh, man, he's a bust, what's wrong with Russ, to being a sympathetic figure at the end of the year with the way the contract went down and what was asked of him. But now it's a fresh start for him. He was good in the past because in the past 5 years for you, he has gone from number 2 on this list to 3 to 7 to 14 and now to 21. So the drop is pretty apparent there for Russell Wilson. Is there any chance that he can crack into the top 20 for Chris Sims again?
Yeah, there is. There definitely is. I think it's about consistency with him more than anything. He'd be another guy where you'd go, hey, there's a collection of wow plays and wow throws. I mean, wow, right? He makes some throws out of some of these guys here where I'd go, I mean, that's an incredible throw. Incredible. Right? And he still can move. He can still run. It's not like old Russ, but he can. Right? But I think he's lost his way within this offense. And I could speak to it. When you're mentally swimming, it's hard to do anything. And I think he's been mentally swimming, feeling the pressure of the situation in Denver, all of that. He's had a lot of negative. And it's the first time ever. And it's like, can he bounce back from this and regain his magic?
Yeah,
I'm not going to doubt him, right? I'm really not.
I mean, last year was a bounce back year. They made an offense.
It's not as bad as you think it is.
So his completion percentage went from 60 to 66.
Right.
His touchdowns went from 16 to 26 last year.
Right.
His interceptions went down. His sacks went down a little bit. His quarterback rating went from 84 to 98.
Yes.
So that was a bounce back year last year. I think some people forget that. It was so bad with Nathaniel Hackett. That year was just a lost year.
Bad, right.
But it was better from Russell Wilson this past year.
Some bad mistakes and some big moments.
Sure.
That was the big thing, I think. And then I think, like I'm alluding to, I think where it all breaks down, and I alluded to this during the season, and as I watch it back, 2-3 weeks ago when we started the list and now watch again now, it's just it's too simple for Sean Payton. You're going to drive Sean Payton crazy if he has to run offenses like that. Yeah. He wants a quarterback where he can go, here's 3 plays, right? You figure it out. I'll teach you all week, but you got to get to the line of scrimmage and figure it out, as long as lining up everybody and getting us out of the huddle quick and doing all that, right? And as we know, that's Russell Wilson. It's been a little bit of an issue for him, right? There was the wristband conversation in Seattle. There was the wristband conversation in Denver, right? They had time out of the huddle clock issues in both years with Nathaniel Hackett and Sean Payton. There's one constant there. It's Russell Wilson, right? So, again, that's where, hey, quarterback play, all of that, a few guys can overcome everything. Most of these guys need a few of these things to line up to look the way you want or we expect them to look.
Yep.
And I think that'll be the big thing here going forward. But like I said, still a really good arm. Not an offense that's suited for him, right?
35 years old. He says that he wants to play another 5 to 7 years. I don't know.
I don't.
That seems like a lot.
Yeah,
get into podcasting around 40.
Yeah, but I do think he's certainly I don't see deterioration of physical ability. Okay. Right. I know he doesn't run quite the way he used to, but he still can move and do all that, and his arm is still powerful.
Okay.
It really is.
Well, let's see. I think we have some video of his arm at OTAs. Who knows what it's going to look like? I always like to see this because what if something's? Oh, here we go. Oh, slow motion, my favorite. Right on target.
Yeah. Listen, his motion, you could see he's a guy that kind of lets his arm work as an independent contractor, right? He's not got his front shoulder in there all the time, right? Yeah. He kind of he throws it a little more baseball-y, right? And that's why he's not the best 3-step game thrower, right? It's a little bit of a wind-up to throw a ball where it's 1, 2, 3, get it out, and then do all that. It's a lot of moving parts, right? Usually when you see a guy with a really good short game, their ball and their motion's always up here by their ear, right? Yeah. It's just it's like throwing a dart all the time. It's usually the quick 3-step drop quarterback is not usually like this huge long wind-up. It's usually not that kind of guy. It's not conducive. This is where I think Arthur Smith and this offense run the ball. Hey, we're protected. Look, it's Pickens on the outside. It's one-on-one. He's going to run a 20-yard out route. You throw them great. Throw it in there, big guy. Boom. And I think this will also be the place with a Mike Tomlin and Arthur Smith that'll kind of get his mojo back and regain his confidence. But a big year for Russell Wilson.
And I think it's pretty apparent that it is his job to lose.
I think so.
It will be Russell Wilson's job, but I think that they will give Justin Fields a chance to wow them, to surprise them, maybe make some plays, and who knows, if it really goes south, they'll have no problem going to Justin Fields and trying to get a spark.
I think you're saying it right. It'll be Russell Wilson, right? Justin Fields will be intriguing. It'll be their little toy. But it's not going to be so much that it's Russell Wilson that if Justin Fields kills it in training camp and preseason and Russell's very average in the preseason games and training camp, that they won't take the job away from him and put Justin Fields in there.
They're not tied to either one.
No, they are not tied. But I think they would like to go with Russell Wilson. And I will say this again too. Russell Wilson, not cool. Not everybody's going to hang out with him and drink beers and go to the bar. And
maybe nobody.
Probably doesn't say shit like you.
Yeah.
Right? Real nerd
it's
like
you. It's not indicative of how cool you are, but
okay,
regardless.
Fine.
Yeah.
If you say so. But you already know up there, and I've heard enough people say it, and I know people there, that hey, he changes the way you're building things still. There's still enough aura around Russell Wilson to go, my chest's out.
Yeah.
Russell Wilson's here.
Well, yes.
Right? We've heard Cameron Hayward say it. We've heard other people say it up there.
They haven't had it since Big Ben.
They haven't had it.
Which wasn't that long ago, but Kenny Pickett, no. Mason Rudolph, Duck Hodges.
No.
I mean, these are the names we're
and even
about
Big
here.
Ben at the end of his career was a little bit more just on, past stuff, not necessarily maybe total belief that he could do it. So, I think there's some tangible stuff to, the aura of Russell Wilson that a team can gravitate towards.
Unfortunately for them, they have a hard schedule. They have the hardest schedule in the NFL if you go off of strength of schedule.
If you go off of schedule?
Opponents know.
They have the hardest schedule if you go off their schedule.
No, as the win totals that Vegas is projecting of their opponents right now, it was more complicated than just that, although it probably means the same thing. This is DraftKings, so here are the projected win totals for all those teams that have the difficult schedule. The Steelers have 8.5 win total, which is about what they've been the past 50 years, it seems like.
Seriously.
Where they will be 9 and whatever and make the playoffs and lose in the first round. But
the schedule is tough, but here's what I like about their schedule, okay? Early on in the season, there's no team that they're going to be outclassed by. They have a chance early on to really put some wins in there. Hey, Atlanta, Denver, the Chargers, the Colts, the Cowboys, the Raiders, right? So I'm not ready to anoint any of those teams the kings of the world.
Sure.
I certainly think that Pittsburgh is capable of being able to get off to a good start here. It's week 11 to week 18 that I would argue is maybe the biggest 7-game gauntlet you're going to see out of any team in football. That's where I would argue. Listen to this gauntlet they have starting in the mid-November. Ravens, Browns, Bengals, Browns, Eagles, Ravens, Chiefs, Bengals.
Ooh.
Yes. I would argue that week 11 through week 18, the Pittsburgh Steelers have the toughest schedule in all of football. Those are I look at those games, again, we've had this conversation where I go, even if those teams aren't as good as we think they're going to be, those are still going to be really tough football games. I don't care. It's not like it's like the New England Patriots late in the year or the Tennessee Titans or something. These are teams that have culture, talent, quarterback play. Even if they're not at their best, damn, that's going to be tough right there.
So if they're not 7-3 or if they're 6-4 right around week 12, that's tough for them.
It's going to be brutal. Hopefully they can put wins in the bank against teams that again, I don't think I'm unrealistic to sit here and go, they're better than a good amount of those teams, right?
Yeah.
And we'll see where that goes. But yeah, the Giants, the Raiders, the Colts, the Chargers, the Broncos certainly are there to be had. And then you got teams like the Jets and the Falcons and the Cowboys that those will be tough football games, but be interesting to see what they do this year.
And just to clarify too, strength of schedule is how hard your schedule is.
Oh,
so
hey,
I wanted
good
to clear
thing you
that
cleared that up.
DraftKings Sportsbook is an official sports betting partner of the NBA.
And during the playoffs, new customers can bet $5 and pocket $200 in bonus bets instantly.
You can download the app, use the promo code Unbuttoned when you sign up. DraftKings Sportsbook.
The crown is yours.
It's basically how tough your opponents are, and if you play them, then your strength of schedule will be also tough. So
this is interesting.
This is what we do. We break things down for the homies that don't understand strength of schedule. Oh, that's just me. We got one more to talk about. We don't often go 6 wide on the pod, but we thought, why not today? Because we have a tier with one man and one man alone, the chosen one. I thought Patrick Mahomes was the chosen one. Maybe this is the chosen one, too. This is the chosen one, too. Or he's old news, as Pete says. Right. Number 20 for you in your quarterback list is?
Caleb Williams, Chicago Bears. Yes. I know it's of course projecting. And
your
all
highest ranked rookie ever since you've been doing this list.
Yeah, because I'm going to go with it this year. Like I told you before the year and starting these rankings, I got to start buying into the guys I believe in. I've chickened out of, I think, respect for veterans and, we haven't seen it, so he hasn't proven it yet. Okay, well, this is what I'm here to do, isn't it? I mean, just as a little bit shed light on situations, maybe predict the future. Sometimes I'm wrong, I know that. But I look at him as being the natural, being a chosen one type of guy. Been in an offense in his college career where, hey, it was on his shoulders and he was asked to read the field and check and do things at the line of scrimmage. I think he's very mature for a quarterback as far as the play is concerned coming in to college football. I mean, the way he stepped on the field at Oklahoma to take over for Spencer Rattler, right away you were like, whoa, this guy's awesome. Then the next year he just leaves and goes to another school and wins the Heisman. No big deal. I mean, and then the year after, right, they're not very good. He carries the team to keep them relevant, carries them, right? I mean, you said all the right things when you watched during the draft and all that. I mean, it's laughable what he did pass protection-wise, let alone not tremendous high-end talent around him on the offensive side of the ball there in USC. So I look at it and go, wait, he could play in a system. There's no doubt about that, right? His physical talent, I think, is extraordinary, right? And I also think he has the mentality and the maturity to handle Chicago, handle the new offensive situation. And I know it might not be perfect in week 1 or 2, but I'm betting more that in week 5 and 6, just like we saw with C.J. Stroud last year, we're going to start going, holy crap, Caleb Williams, right? He never misses the throws he shouldn't miss. He makes a lot of throws where you go, you should miss this. This should not be complete. And his ability, as we always talk about, to make plays off schedule, backyard type of football plays, is, I'm already willing to say, is going to be towards the top of football. So we'll see where this goes here. But, yeah, I'm putting myself out there with Caleb Williams and what I think of him as a pure talent, a player, a quarterback, all of it all together.
Back in 2019, you had Kyler Murray as the 24th ranked quarterback. That was previously your highest ranked rookie in these rankings. So you got Caleb Williams 4 spots above that. Let's get the hype train rolling. We have some throws at the OTAs for him already. He's got that Bears uniform. And I do have to admit, even as a noted Bears hater, he looks pretty good.
He looks
that
cool.
Uni, that 18, the next grade 18.
Well, this is where he's insane.
Look
right?
at that. Rolling out to his left, turning his hips.
No, the arm is so flexible. His ability to leverage his body to make the arm maximize and be what it is there. This is only like a few guys in football that can do this type of stuff.
I will say
here.
too, and people say, okay, all right, he just ran it through and turned his body a little bit. He's an athlete. All quarterbacks should be athletes. What I will say is the one game I watched in person at Notre Dame, there was this one sack that he avoided where I have no idea how he did it. It was like the flexibility he had in his hips to almost like matrix it back and then still stay on his feet.
Yeah.
I do think he has like amazing core strength. I think he has great flexibility. And I think he's just an all-around, like really, really, really good athlete.
That's right. He's got legs and a butt like a running back, right? I mean, his ability to move and change directions is next level that way. And then, of course, his running, it gets overshadowed because he was in a draft with Jaden Daniels, right? That's the problem, right? If it was another draft where there wasn't Jaden Daniels, we would have watched 50% more running clips of Caleb Williams because it's special too, right? And I think his ability to scramble is as good as I've ever seen. And when I say scramble, I mean stay behind the line of scrimmage, move around to make a throw. That's where he's great. And I think he's great in the pocket. And I don't think the offense he's going to be in here with this is Shane Waldron, right? Coming from Seattle. I don't think it's going to be, it's going to be different. There's an adjustment, certainly. But there'll be a lot of principles in there from his air raid stuff, especially with the quick game and short game, that he's going to be like, okay, I know these rules. This is good. And then they're going to add some stuff to that as well. But, I'm excited about what we might see from Caleb Williams here because, of course, I think the Bears are pretty damn good, too.
So the one adjustment he'll probably have to make here is that in college he took 98.1% of his snaps out of the shotgun.
That's right.
The NFL average is around 67.2%. Not that he can't do that, but that will be an adjustment for him year one.
I would think so. Yes, but I think, and hopefully they do that because I do think he's the kind of guy that can be, really slick off of play action.
Yeah.
Right? He could be like the Shanahan, quick play action, just throw a sidearm bullet over the middle, something like that. Or, hey, play action and I get really deep, and now DJ Moore's down the field running a post-corner comeback at 25 yards, and I can throw a laser in there and put it on there, too.
That's a good point to make because I think people would look at that and be like, ooh, he's 98% out of the shotgun. Sometimes, like in college, and you weren't necessarily always complimentary of Lincoln Riley and what they were trying to do.
I don't
with
like
him.
that. It's not enough looks.
There are times when that makes your life a little bit harder.
It definitely does. I mean, everybody knows where you are. There's nothing else to defend. Oh, it's the shotgun again, right? I mean, now you get underneath the center. It's like, oh, well, shit, he could run the boot. They can run play action. They might actually run it. Or they could still run those plays they ran in the shotgun, except he's just going to drop back, right? Yeah. So, and to me, the run game has more effect that way. But, that's where, I think he's going to be surgical running an offense. I think, when I looked at it and kind of went back and did all this, I went, wait, they're going to manage him like what? Cleveland's managing Deshaun Watson? Okay, right? And I think this guy has the ability, like when you put him in the shotgun 2-minute situations, I think he's going to be damn special. I do. And I think he does have that effect of what we talk about with great quarterbacks where, I don't know if you heard my dad say this last week, but, more times than not, you want your quarterback to be the physically best guy at the position, right? It's like it's never cool when your starting quarterback is the second most talented guy.
Yeah.
It always adds a little issues. This will be no doubt. And he has special attributes that I think like the whole team, like almost like a Mahomes in his year, where they're going to be like, man, this guy's doing things in practice and doing stuff here that is unbelievable. And I think that'll, give their team confidence as well.
He is already an elite quote machine. Some of his quotes: to be a great leader, you've got to learn how to follow first. He goes, I'm listening, having both ears open and my mouth shut. And before the draft, he said, I want to play in one place for 20 years and chase one guy, number 12. I want a place that loves ball. That's all I've heard about Chicago so far, which is exciting for me. And so he's already like,
he's smart.
Not
he
only are those
it.
like good quotes, those are like the best things to say too. And so
this is part of the reason I'm putting him there. There's more to this kid than just like sidearm lasers and stuff like that.
I did put you to the test. I put you to the drill of what this whole exercise is. I was like, all right, say you're the head coach of a team. You have to win the Super Bowl or you're fired. You have 1 year to win the Super Bowl. I was like, who would you take? And you would take Caleb Williams, from what we've said today, over Deshaun Watson, over Derek Carr, over Russell Wilson, just in this 1 year to win the Super Bowl.
Yeah, I know. It's crazy to say it. And I think, where I was chickening out was past beliefs, respect for the game, respect for the veterans there a little bit, right? Which I think is a part of a football man's mentality.
But you'd be kicking yourself if you went with Russell Wilson and then halfway through you're like, oh, dang it. I knew Caleb was going to be awesome.
Exactly right. And if we're all on the same team, the same, like, we're getting to this point, hey, we got to manage all these guys just a little bit. They're nothing to be perfect. So I'm coaching the team. I go, damn, I like what he can do. I can manage him real nice. Don't worry about it, right? And he's not going to be able to do some of the things that, Joe Burrow can do offensively and some of those guys quite yet. But, to your point, it's the play on the field, meeting the person, what I've heard about the person. All of those things make me just go, I'm going in on this year, and, I should have gone in on it other years with other guys.
I loved watching him in college. I'm going to love watching him in the NFL. It just sucks that I have to root against him.
Yeah, I know.
It's like of all teams for him to go to, the one team that I have to actually root for him to do poorly. I don't want to do that, but I think he's going to be awesome. I think the Bears are going to be exciting. It's going to make those games against the Lions very, very, very fun. All right, those are your 6 quarterbacks.
Yep.
You've made your job tougher here because we don't normally do 6.
I know.
And so now it's time for What's My Grip, a game show developed by Pete Demolamitis.
And I try not to cheat on these. So, like, this is a group here. I don't know if I know their grips that well. It's going to be interesting. Usually, I'm pretty good with the top guys.
Yeah.
Like, the top guys, I feel like I know all of them.
Okay.
Right? There's some guys in this range here where, off the top of my head, I don't know these grips, so this is going to be interesting.
So to refresh your memory on the 6 quarterbacks we are seeing here, it's going to be Justin Fields, Deshaun Watson, Daniel Jones, Caleb Williams, Derek Carr, and Russell Wilson, because I believe last time we played this game, you forgot that Will Levis was part of the group because he was not a rookie. And, I mean, fair that you slipped him out of that group. So here it is. So here are the hands. We have some big hands. Like D seems to be the largest of all the hands, although C has the index finger close to the point, which we saw last week with, who was that? Pete, do you remember who that was?
Oh, gosh, no.
Penix.
Michael Penix. I think it was
yep.
Penix. That's right.
Got a couple near the point here, too.
Yep. All right. So they're
all quite similar. It seems like we've got the 1 and under 4, 2 and under 5.
Man, this is a tough one here. All right. I'm going to say F is Justin Fields. No?
Dang,
right?
Wow. Nailed the first one. Justin Fields with F. All right, good job.
Yeah, I knew Justin Fields really held the ball up here. He looks like he's 1 and under 4, right? See how that is there?
It is, yep, 1 and under 4, which would indicate to me smaller hands. I don't know if I don't remember that from his draft days.
No, I know, and it's hard to tell. Okay, well,
D's hands are very veiny. I don't know if you know who has the veiniest hands of all these quarterbacks that we're talking about today.
I don't. I'm going to say B is Daniel Jones, right? B?
Dang, wow, 2 for 2 so far.
All right, so B and F are off the board.
All right, I feel like A will be rather easy for you at this point now.
A will be easy for me.
Right? I mean, I feel like now we're just going by... Well, first of all, he's married, it looks like.
Well, that's Derek Carr.
Which quarterback is married?
That's Derek Carr.
A is Derek Carr. There we go. There we go.
All right, so we got A, B, and F off the board. A, B, and F off the board.
By the way, Justin Fields' hand 9 1/8 is in the 15th percentile. So
9 1/8.
I can judge hand size by looking at their grip. That's
so
my
we got
hidden talent.
Fields off the board. We got Carr
Fields is
off
F,
the board.
Daniel Jones is B.
Yep.
Derek Carr is A. If you're listening to this audio version only, you got to go look at the video. I can't help you.
Yeah. Nope. All right. So okay, and we got Russell Wilson. Deshaun,
Russell,
and Caleb.
Who's got the biggest? Like D is the big. Those are like mammoth hands, right?
Let me just Russell.
I mean, like
Deshaun and Caleb. Okay. Wow. This is tough here. Okay. I think where I'm going to go with this one, I think D is Caleb Williams.
Wow, D. Caleb Williams.
Boom. And that's another one that's like a 1 and under 4, right? He's got a similar Justin Fields-ish.
Maybe his hands aren't that big. He's just gripping the football way higher.
He has a little bit of his hands aren't real big. He had I always felt like a pretty wide hand.
Yeah.
Right? That was the big thing that I kind of noticed. Okay, so that's D is Caleb. C is Deshaun Watson.
Wow. C is Deshaun Watson, and then E
is Russell Wilson.
You nailed it. 6 for 6.
Thank you, sir.
Wow, congratulations.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate that, man.
First time you have done that.
Yep. But look at that again here. I mean, again, you alluded to this last Wednesday. The grip of the NFL.
It's sweeping the NFL.
It really is. I mean, we don't have one guy here with like the pinky finger all the way over the lace, right?
Nope.
Everybody is either underneath or their pinky is just barely touching the lace, the lace, right? But it shows you how many guys are into that, tilting the ball in that way, getting the smaller part of the ball in their hand. And then here's the other aspect that I'm disappointed I haven't necessarily explained here with that grip. It does, in a lot of ways, lock your wrist in, right? Right? So where you can just be consistent all the time. Where, sometimes this can be kind of the gift and the curse, right? Where you might not always throw it. You get a little too wristy one day. The ball can just flutter a little, or you're just flicking it too much, not using the rest of your body. Where that little grip there and doing that, it kind of locks it all in to where you can be a little bit more of a machine, right? That was something my dad brought up to me that he was watching the pod, and he's like, you got to explain that it also locks their arm in and locks their wrist into a spot. And I think that's probably part of it, too, to be able to consistently spin the ball and throw perfect spirals. Yeah. Right? I had the gift and the curse of a little bit of having a very flexible wrist and then having gigantic hands, right? And I could definitely be that a little bit where, just a little bit like, screw it, I'm just going to throw it. I don't need to be perfect. And I'd be like, damn, why is like my ball like not 100% spiral today? It's like a 95% spiral. And I'd have to think about that a little bit. Like, hey, don't let your wrist flop so much. It's not a baseball. You can't just let it go like that all the time. Yeah. And I think that's probably part of the reason people do that as well.
Where there are some guys with smaller hands where they just have to lock it in.
They have to lock it in. Exactly right.
Is that also, too, when you tilt it in your hand, does that help you get that when you throw the deep ball that it turns over on you?
No, not necessarily. I know. Yeah.
I always had a hard time getting it to turn over. Mine was more like just a watermelon or a Frisbee up there.
Yeah, well, that's where, the body and really getting through the football, right? And one day we'll maybe like stand up and do a tutorial here a little bit, right? But yeah, throwing the ball high and far, you really got to get your body pointed up high and far, shoulders tilted that way, the eyes got to go that way, and you got to get up and get through that ball even though it's high and still end up in that same follow-through motion that you would end up if you threw a 10-yard curl route, right? And a lot of times people do that and they do it and then they kind of fade back, right? Because they don't get all the way through it. Yeah. That all the way through it gives the ball the extra to now turn over and drop in the bucket to where if you stay on that back leg and don't get through it, the nose will stay up and it kind of just flutters, right? Is that what you're alluding to, right? Right.
It's like the back point almost is facing down.
The back point will go down, right? Because your body didn't get through the throw. You kind of faded back or stayed on that back leg, if that makes sense for all those out there.
If only I could go back 24 years now into high school and I could redo my whole high school quarterback career. All right, so that was it for the first time in the history of What's My Grip. Chris, you went 6 for 6, 100%.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it. Yep, please send in all my awards to here at NBC Sports. All right,
a T-shirt. We'll give you a T-shirt.
All right, everybody. I hope you enjoyed the pod. That was a tough one there. I'm not, no joke, as I've said repeatedly, that was the toughest part, I think, of all the quarterback rankings. This next group we got coming up on Wednesday ain't no cupcake either. It's nitpicky, it's tough, but it should be a good one. And there'll probably be a few names that surprise a few people that one. All right, you know where to find us. Subscribe, rate, and review. Thursday, the countdown continues with me and Ahmed Fareed here. Chris Sims Unbuttoned. Thanks to all the homies. Peace out. Clap it up.
Clap it up.
Yo, what's up? Thanks for watching, homies. You know it's the off-season, but there's no off-season with Chris Sims Unbuttoned. It's the NFL. It goes all year around, all right? So hit subscribe, please, to hear my thoughts on your favorite team, your favorite quarterback, and, hey, how this season might unfold as we get ready for the 2024 season. We got a better picture, clearer look now that the draft is over, free agency. We know who's playing quarterback for certain teams. So, again, thanks for watching, and remember to subscribe. Peace out, homies. Check you out soon.